All right, ladies, thank you so much for coming on this call and interview with Brave. So we are actually wanting to find out more from moms who are in this season of like lockdown or working from home, having to uh, do home-based learning with the kids. So we want to hear. I know some others like they cheer for it, some are moaning and groaning. So we have like mixed reactions. So we want to hear from you with different kids of different age and how actually you are handling this situation at home and what are some of the learnings that you get from it. So before we start, maybe we can introduce ourselves and tell us how big of your name, how big your family is, and the age of the children. So maybe we start with Yen.
Yeah, I'm Yen from the Philippines. I have 3 boys. The oldest is 11, the second is 8, and we have a 1-year-old baby. And
Hey, we're going down. Don't know who's your down. Delia?
Me? I'm Delia. I'm Singaporean, but we moved to Michigan a few years ago, so we live in the States now. We have 3 kids, 2 boys, 13 years old, 11, and a little girl who's 6 years old. And they're all doing school at home now. And I'm teaching, so I'm teaching at home and they're learning from home too. And pastoring a church too.
Wow. I'm Jade. I'm Australian. My parents were from Malaysia. We moved to Singapore about 2.5 years ago. We have 3 children. Oldest is a boy, he's 6. And we have 2 girls, one 3, going on 23, and the other is 2 months. So it's been a very interesting learning curve.
Wow, that's very interesting. Well, then maybe I introduce myself. I'm Joy. I have 6 kids. The first set of kids are teenagers, so they're like 18, 17, and 16. And the 3 younger ones are 10. Hey, let me think. Oh no, 11.
She's 11.
11 and 10, and then a 4-year-old. Yeah. So
Wow.
pretty grown up, so I'm good. So let's hear from maybe Delia. How have you and your family adjusted to this kind of like quarantine
Home-based
season?
learning. So we started earlier in the States. We started about end of March to go to home-based learning. And so we've been doing it for a while. I think what keeps me sane is a schedule, because I have 3 kids and I have, like with school, we have Zoom calls and, we have all the work that we need to do. So having a schedule helps, because my 2 older boys are really independent. So they just run on autopilot. Just, sometimes they're done with their work like 10 a.m. in the morning. So what do they do for the rest of the day? And I'm like, well, you occupy yourself, because if you ask me what you can do, I'll give you some chores to do. So if you don't want to do more housework, you just occupy yourself. So that's what they've been doing, and keeping to the schedule. And also they've been helping with the house and with their little sister. So that all really helps. And having a schedule for me helps too, because initially I was working like all day long and all night long, just trying to get everything online for my own students. But then I realized it's not healthy. So I made a schedule for myself too, for like work. So I realized that the emails is really the trigger. Every time you open the email, is like another thing to deal with, and parents and students and all that. So I just have to stop checking my email by a certain time. And that's like my cutoff work time, and then have family time in the evenings and weekends. So that really helps. For me, it's a schedule.
Okay. What about you, Yen, in the Philippines?
It's interesting because the Philippines went on quarantine towards the end of the school year. So there wasn't really as much to do. We were doing our exams during that time, and I've already been homeschooling for the past few years. So
Wow.
it wasn't really an adjustment in terms of having the kids doing school at home. I guess the adjustment was just that because we couldn't go out as much, because our normal lifestyle is really to be out maybe 2-3 times a week. So the big change was having everyone home, and yeah, like what Delia said, they had to like find things to occupy themselves, especially since school has been out for them since end of March. So what we've
Wow.
been doing is that we have some vacant lots around our place where we made it like a family project of like having a small garden. Yeah, but actually the idea came from our older son because he was the one who started like decorating a little patch of land where we can hang out because we can't really go out anywhere else, right? So we would spend time just outdoors. Yeah, so it's been fun.
That's interesting. Hearing from the two educators, right, who are so they're
Structured.
so trained and skilled. Let's hear from Jade. More normal, normal mother.
You want a station? Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and as Delia was saying, routine is like my mantra. I used to be a lot more relaxed as a person until I had kids. I would go crazy if I didn't have some sort of routine. So in that sense, yeah, there wasn't much to change, except that, you know, I had 3 hours of relative and quiet in the morning. It was just me and the baby when the kids were at school, and now I've had that taken from me. So the adjustment came from realizing that, oh, okay, I'm now dealing with all 3 kids and having my husband at home who is working, but the kids, you know, in all their innocence, think that yay, we have mummy and daddy's undivided and unfettered, you know, access to our parents' undivided attention all the time. So it does become a bit disruptive, and so we've had to put down a few more rules and really schedule their home-based learning. What I did find a huge adjustment, because we used to do holiday homeschooling, so it wasn't such a big deal doing that for myself. It was hectic, but it wasn't something completely foreign. What I do find quite difficult to deal with is the online lessons. That's really difficult for me because I find I have to be more involved, you know, sort of, especially for the younger ages. I'm not sure if it works well for them, but yeah, I have to be even more involved than if I was teaching them by myself at home. So that's
Interesting.
for me, yeah.
Yeah. So we also learn, like, you know, a lot of parents, right? They haven't really been the one teaching their children, right? Because it's usually done by the teachers. And now we have, like, I read all these things, such deep appreciation for our educators, right? And so I just want to hear, you know, if, for myself, right, I have not really been like involved, like in teaching the kids, and because the school does it, and now having them at home and being very involved in a sense, right, being the IT help and having to mark their work. So in the process, I find myself I have to teach them, right, and so that's the challenge when your child, you are the teacher for your child, right? So so we had tears in the beginning, like, you know, because I mean, it's inevitable, right? It's your kid, and you have like certain expectation for them to learn, or, you know, and you just wonder how come they can't understand. So do you guys have any like such challenges with your kids, that have being at home with them and having to be their, not just their mom, like you're literally their educator, you are like their helper, you know, you are like almost everything to them. Is there any time where there's like friction, and how do you resolve it? How do you maximize this time with them at home? So maybe start with Yen.
Friction is my middle name. Yeah, so I actually work from home now. So like what Jade was saying, like, yeah, it's a bit difficult when the kids are just there. And yeah, I think I find that sometimes when we get into this state where we're all stressed out, I just need some time away from them. So I try to lock myself in my room for a while, but it doesn't work because currently the doorknob on my room is actually broken. So they have easy access anytime. Yeah, but for us, we're allowed to, one of us is allowed to go out at any given time to like do groceries and stuff. So Mark and I take turns. I relish the time that I get to go out to buy groceries, and I take my sweet time so that I'll be nice and refreshed by the time I get back. Yeah, I guess that's one thing that really helps me. So tomorrow is my schedule to go out again. I'm excited.
How about you, Delia?
Yeah, for us, I definitely clash with them at different times. But like the funny story is with Evan, my middle child, he will ask me for math help. And I'm a certified high school math teacher, right? But when I try to help him with his math, he will look at me like, are you sure? And he will disagree with me. He will argue with me and he will be like, I don't think so. And I'm like, trying to contain all my frustration and like, look, I teach math. Like, why don't you believe me? It's a lot of frustration, but I think it two things. One is expectations, managing your expectations for your children. And the second thing is your attitude. So I have to take off my teacher hat and put on my mom hat. And like, they usually interrupt me in the middle of like my work. So my immediate reaction is I'm very frustrated because I'm dealing with something right now. So I have to like put that aside because that's still going to be there. But my child needs me right now. So I just got to put off my teacher hat and put on my mom hat and like take a deep breath. Okay, you don't believe me, but let me explain this to you again, and because it's been going on. So we have our, signals like, don't trigger me and I won't trigger you. So we learn to be like work with each other. So I try to explain to him, my tone is really important, my body language, because when he knows I'm frustrated, he already like will shut down. So in times of friction, I really have to manage that, my own attitude towards my kids, and then expectations, because I cannot expect my child to do as much as they did in school when they have, all the resources that they have. So if they don't finish everything that they need to for the day, especially for the youngest one, because she takes like 10 times as long to do anything, it's okay, and the good thing is I read a lot of differences between the Singapore system and here, and having taught in Singapore for 12 years, I know how the pressure is. But like the expectations that the school also has to be managed, that you cannot expect the kids to do the same amount of work that they did when they were in school. So the good thing is that their teachers give maybe like 5 things on the list, but they only require 2 things to be turned in or submitted. So at least like we can breathe if we don't get through all 5 things. So expectations is really something that we have to manage. And if she doesn't write as well as I want her to write, that's not the big problem. Yeah, it's okay. I can live with it. Joy got to chill too.
So is there something that you discovered about your children in this whole process of, guiding them through?
For me, I discover how independent and how reliable my oldest is, because and also how sensitive he is, because he knows my moods. So he knows like he will come over and just give me a hug or like, Mom, you okay? Which is not something that happened before. Maybe he's getting older and becoming more sensitive. And he will like pick up things around the house to help out. He will cook. He made steak the other night and his steak is better than mine now. He's making hamburgers tonight. So that really is something new. And I like seeing that in my oldest. Yeah.
Nice. How about you, Jade?
We don't really have much friction, so to speak, because they're still at the age where I can like just say, because Mommy said so. But there is whining, there is whinging. Like, Mommy, I don't like doing Chinese, and I mean, I can't speak Chinese to save my life. So, it's like the blind leading the blind, and I guess what helps is what Delia was saying, just managing my expectations as well. When I first received the education guidelines from the school, it looked like a list of KPIs to me to achieve. And there was just so much stress, and a lot of the other parents were all stressed out. So I think I was getting a bit worried that, oh no, my son, who's already not great Chinese, is even more, is going to be even more disadvantaged because his mother can't speak Chinese. I found that, Josiah, his name is Josiah, he was picking up on that negativity. So I sort of changed tack a little bit, and I said, okay, look, mummy's not great at Chinese, you know that. Let's try and learn together, sort of do like a, we're in this together, and remembering that I am his mum first, like Delia was saying, and you know, just to bring that connection across with him is more important to me than to achieve, you know, he knows how many strokes there are in this particular character, or something like that. You know, he's in kindergarten, for crying out loud. I don't know what I'm getting stressed out for, but it does get very real. The stress gets very real, and suddenly you find yourself, you know, being Hulkbuster mom, thinking about your child, going like, why can't you understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah, so there's not so much friction, but there is a bit of, I don't feel like doing this, mummy. I don't want to finish this activity. Why do I need to learn this? So just explaining and extrapolating and processing with them, rather than being that authority saying things like, you know, just because I say so, because if you don't, then something bad's going to happen. And really encouraging them, because they're dealing with a lot of change in a short amount of time. You know, and the least I could do is be as consistent as possible for them.
Yeah, I think Jade brought up a very good point, right? It's not just changes to the adult schedule, but for them, the children, there's a lot of changes. And what are some of the things that you guys have done, you know, to help the children cope with this adjustment? And suddenly they are home the whole day, they can't go out. And what are some of the recommendations that you have for, you know, mothers, like how to help the children cope during this season? Like Jade, you mentioned that, you know, it's like you having to connect with Josiah, right? You know that there's a lot of changes happening. You know, how do you actually help him cope with this
I think when
changes?
The signs of the schools, you know, when we were looking at the whole situation, and that we realized, you know, the schools might actually shut down, I started preempting and preparing the children and telling them, you know, you might have to do homeschool with mummy. And Josiah and Lauren actually really enjoy it. They really enjoy doing what they call mummy lessons when we did holiday schooling. So they thought it was a great thing, but they're not really liking the whole, like, can't see my friends, can't go outside too much. So what does help is, one, preempting, preparing them. I think a lot of tantrums and meltdowns can be avoided if you just prepare your children and tell them, okay, this is the plan, guys. Tomorrow we're going to be doing this, 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 and this. It's not going to change much. You know, school is still school. Your teacher will be mummy. I know some families have their children still wear the school uniforms to help them
Sing the national anthem.
just to help them maintain that identity that I'm still a student. My mum is the teacher. I need to, you know, maintain mode of behavior at home. The structure really helps the kids when they know, okay, this time I'm doing this time we're doing this, now it's break time, especially for the younger ones. I find that really helps. Yeah. With the heart connection, I think just, it's hard to say, it's hard to put into words, but really checking in on them during the day. And if they're finding things difficult, not being quick to assume that they're just being difficult or anything like that, but, you know, asking them, or, you know, for example, just before, my son said, "This is the worst day ever." In my mind, my immediate sarcastic remark is, really? For a 6-year-old. You know, and I had to fight my instinct to retort something smart back and ask, oh, why do you think today was the worst day ever? And it turns out he didn't enjoy his online lesson. It was too overwhelming with all the noise. He and his sister had a couple of disagreements today over how to conduct certain I don't know, they were doing a show, disagreements about how to run it. So yeah, he didn't feel like today went very well for him. Was able to, just get down on his level and say, yeah, sometimes things don't work out. Just process the day with him.
What about you, Yen?
For us, I think the biggest adjustment was with Sam because he's very extroverted. So before the quarantine, he was always out of the house by the time it wasn't too hot anymore and playing with all his friends. So now he's stuck with us and he's bugging his older brother so much because the older one is introverted. So he can spend time by himself. And then here's the little one just tagging along everything he does. So both Mark and I had to be more intentional at spending time with Sam. So even though school is out for us technically, I added a few stories to read to him. So when the quarantine started, I was so excited to be able to just work so much more because we're just home. But I realized that I really had to schedule in these reading times with Sammy. Yeah, so it's really helped. He likes the added bonding time when it's just me and him while the others are outside. Yeah, so I think that's one. Yeah, well, I think it's more of being creative and finding ways to connect with them, like what Jade said. Yeah.
And how are you doing that? What are some of the things you have done to connect with them?
Initially, actually, my first response was just to play audiobooks for him. So he would sit still and listen. And it was just, I think, a couple of weeks ago that I started to look for actual books to read to him again. Because we used to do that a lot when it was during the school year. But since the school was out, I was thinking, yay, I'm free. I don't have to do anything with them. Yeah, but I had to add in a few more, reading the Bible with him in the morning. And then the second one would be probably around nap time in the afternoon or in the evening. I'll just slip in a few chapters of read aloud. Yeah, we feel like it makes a difference.
So you see changes in his behavior or his physiology?
I think both, because he feels like he gets his fix of spending time with people, while JD also gets some time to himself. So it's two birds with one stone.
Yeah, everyone is happy. How about you, Delia?
Yeah, I think we kind of look at this what can we do during this time that we cannot do if we were in school? So that kind of makes them feel excited about doing something. So, and they each have different things that they like doing. And I try to give them individual time that I'm spending doing that thing with them. So for Caleb, it was writing his books. So last week we had a week break from school and we spent a lot of time. We did a book, a website, and a Facebook page, but that's what drives him. So spend time with him doing that. With Evan, he's building Legos and he's got a whole amusement park built from scratch. I mean, that's his thing. So for us to just watch him do it and let him talk about it. So that makes him excited about it. And then for Anna is talking to her friends because she's social like me. So Messenger Kids is a lifesaver. Her friend would call her through the day and then they would put the iPad and play Barbie or something so they can watch each other play. And that is a lifesaver because it gives me an hour of not having her next to me talking. So I think if they each find something that is special for them and they think of it as something I can do now that I cannot do if I were in school, it makes them excited that this is a special time and it's not just all negative and boring. Yeah, they're not allowed to say I'm bored, so they know that. And I think if we change their mindset that, don't allow yourself to be bored. If you're thinking, what can I do? Or I have nothing to do, then think of something fun to do so that you'll never be bored. So I think they've moved on from that, summertime boredom, that this is a different kind of, I don't know, it's just the new norm, Yeah, but it's been going on good here. Yeah.
So you are finding a lot of connection with them, helping them doing what they like individually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have to carve time out to do that. But between me and Cameron, we take turns to just spend individual time with them. So with him and the boys, it's sports. They will take turns to go out and play with him alone. One plays baseball in the backyard, the other plays basketball in the driveway. So it's nice that we have options to go outside, and do all these things. So, but to spend that one-to-one time, I think feeds their souls, feeds their emotions, their emotional needs, more than anything else. Just being able to spend time with their parents. Because with the boys, I'm like, do you want to call your friends, and chat, so they get that dose of social socializing. But the boys are like, no, what am I going to talk to my friends about? But for Anna, she's like, and they can go on and on. So it's just very different. So for boys, I think I realized that it's being next to them. And even if you're not like talking about deep stuff, but you're just throwing a ball, it's spending time with them that feeds their emotional needs. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so important, right, to really connect with them during this time. And, when we were so busy, we were like, oh, how I wish I had more time. And then, now we have more time. And we can't run away. And I said, wow, it's really a good time for parents to be connected with the kids. And yeah, so for me, it's interesting. I like what you said. Yeah, schedule. We stick to the schedule. I rehearse with the younger ones. Okay, what do you do in the morning, right? I can't do much with my teenagers. They're more or less on their own. And the only thing is I control their connectivity to their world. So I can terminate their Wi-Fi to all their devices. So when that happens, they will come out of their room, right? So that I do. And when they come out, they go like, Mom, I say, yes, because I haven't seen you for the day and I need a hug. I want a kiss. I want to talk to you. And things like that, that I'll do to kind of like make them come out of their room, right? But they're kind of like happy in their own world. But we really make like meal time very important. So like dinner time is a time where we want all of them to come out, and they come out and eat, and we talk, we laugh, we joke, and then we go back. They go back to do whatever they want. And I think it's so important for us to keep having that connection even over meal times, and individually to talk to them. So I also throw in some fun stuff, like Saturday is baking day. That's when my helper will not cook at all. So it's just like for fun. We'll order food in, and then we just bake with the kids. And they get to tell me what they want to eat. And then I go like, okay, I'll try my best to make it happen, right? So it's kind of like, connecting with their stomach and then connecting to their hearts. Yeah, it's really fun during this time. And I really discovered a lot about my kids.